everyone, thanks for coming back to the B&S channel. So today I want to give you an overview of different ways that you can make samples. I'm not going to go through the process for everything, but I'm showing you some of the tools that you can use, some of the different options you can have, and some things I'll just talk to you about. I know I have some other videos out there about how to make specific samples. I have one using the melting way that you use molds. I have one that I use a crinkle cutter, and for some reason I can't find my crinkle cutter, so I'm not going to show you that again, and if you want to go find those videos you can. But there's a bunch of different ways to do samples, and I wanted to show you a few different ways that you can do them with what I have. So to start off, I have a bar. This bar is actually winter pine. It's going to be out in the fall and winter of 2014 coming up. I love this scent. So this is what I'm going to be using for samples. I have a couple different things. So I also have Luna body lotion. I have an old Happy Birthday room spray, and obviously you can use the newer ones or whatever you want to use. So I'm going to move these out of the way for now. But some of the different ways that I've seen on YouTube, as well as just things around the house that I have used, is one in particular, which I used to do a long time ago, is to take a cookie sheet, and let's pretend that this is the cookie sheet. Melt your wax in, let's say, a glass measuring cup. Put it in the microwave for a couple seconds, or actually probably about 10 seconds, and let it start melting, and then you can pour the wax into the cookie sheet and let it harden. I've also done it in a glass baking dish. Anything depending on how thick you want your samples to be. Then you can take a cookie cutter like this one. This is a small star. This is probably about 1 inch in diameter. It's just a small cookie cutter, and then once it's hardened in your baking dish, you can just go and cut out some samples, and then whatever's left over, you can remelt it and use it for some more. So that's one way that you can do some samples. The other way that you can do samples is if you're going to melt it. I have 3 different types of trays here for molds. This is just a very thin plastic mold that I've used before. This one's kind of dirty. I haven't used it in a while, but this is Star molds. This is one of those chocolate candy molds that you can get, and you can just use this. Now, I actually will, I have in the past, I've used non-stick spray to keep it so that the molds pop out better. I find in the plastic that it is a little bit harder to get the molds out after they've been frozen. So, you know, a lot of people will freeze it, and then when you tap it on the counter, it pops all of the molds out. And this does pretty well as well. This is an ice cube tray. This is Stars as well. The only problem that I find with this one is they're very thick. And I'm not sure that if I'm going to do a sample that I'm going to give that much wax. If I'm going to give that much wax, I might as well just give a cube out of the bar. This makes it look a little cuter, but I would say that this is at least a cube per star. Okay. The other one that I find is probably the best are the silicone molds. Now, this is one that I purchased at the dollar store. The silicone molds, I find, release the frozen wax easier. There's a little bit more flexibility. You're not likely to snap the, like, see, there's not much flexibility to get this one out. And this one, if you've noticed, I've actually cracked it in trying to maneuver it out like this, because when it's frozen, obviously it's pretty stiff and it can crack very easily. So I find that the silicone molds are the best. Now, Scentsy just came out with some in our Scentsy family store. I know that they are out of stock right now, but I'm sure they will be replacing them. And those are, in my opinion, the best. So that's another way that you can do that. Another way that you can do it that I've seen that I think is pretty ingenious. I don't have the little pom-poms, but cotton balls. What you would do is you would soak them in your, let's say you take your warmer and you put your wax to warm and let it melt, and then you go ahead and dip these into the wax. You can use some tweezers to pull them out, and I would probably put them on a wax paper to let harden, and then you've got some little samples. So this is a great idea. I've also seen where people take Q-tips and cut them in half, oopsies, and dip the ends in the wax. So again, you take your warmer, you melt the wax, and you dip these in there, and then you have some samples. Now these are probably not as cute, but they are certainly functional, and they do the trick, and it would be easy for you to mail these out along with the cotton balls. Now there are other people who also use felt strips. So you can purchase an 8.5 by 11 sheet of felt at any craft store. You cut them into strips, probably, I don't know, about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches long. Dip those into your warmer of melted wax, and then again you let them harden, and you have something that you can mail out. So those are really good ideas. Something else that I found that I thought maybe I would try, or I would suggest for somebody to try, is these are little I think they're makeup removers, but they're just little pads, and I know that they have the circular ones as well that are like cotton balls that you can use for removing your makeup. That would be good as well. You could cut them up into quarters, but this too is, it's this one actually, I think these might be like Band-Aid pads. So that's something that you can use. You can pretty much use anything that is going to absorb the wax. And when they're flat like this, it's easier to put into the Ziploc baggies and mail them out. And if they melt, they will reabsorb into the felt or the cotton swabs. So that's a good idea as well. The other thing that I found were the makeup wedges. These are probably a little bit more expensive. However, you can do the same thing. If you rip this off, you can dip the tip into the wax, and you can use that for samples as well. One of the things that I have done before in the past as well is I went and purchased these little spritzer bottles, and basically they come in 2 pieces, and you have the bottom that you can fill, and then the top that actually has the little spritzer pump on the top, and this one has a cover that has a little keychain hook on it. So you would fill this with your room spray or body spray and snap that together, and then you have yourself a nice little tester for something that is liquid and able to be sprayed. You could also do this for the hand sanitizers if you can figure out a way how to open up the hand sanitizer container to take the liquid out, and you could make a couple, maybe, I think you probably could get 3 out of the tubes of sanitizer that we have in our 3-packs. So these were purchased online. I know that the company that I purchased them from no longer is in business, but I've seen these elsewhere that can be purchased. So I'm sure if you did a Google search for sample spritzer bottles, that you'd be able to find them. These are the different types of bags that I will use for samples. This is probably the one that I use most often. These you can purchase at Walmart for a big bag like this, which I think had 1,000 in it. They're 3x4 baggies, and I think you can get them for like $3 for 100 of them or more. So they're really inexpensive, and these are perfect because your business card can fit inside the baggie with your sample. So basically you would put the sample in there and your business card. Now, I would not suggest putting your business card in with a sample that you do with the felt or the cotton or the Q-tips or anything like this, because if it melts, it's going to get on the card and it's going to make a mess. So what a lot of people do is you put the sample on the inside and staple your card to the outside. Now, when I'm using the molds, I don't know, I tend to put them in with the card if I know that I'm going to be handing them out immediately and that there's no chance of them melting, but I certainly, if I was mailing it, I wouldn't put the card on the inside. So that's one size. Then you have this littler size, which is probably about 2.5 by 1.5. And this is just enough to put a sample in, okay? So you would staple the card to the outside of this one because it's not going to fit on the inside, and you can utilize that as well. The other thing that you can utilize are these little organza bags. The little organza bags are pretty, they're nice decoration, but the reason that I would use an organza bag isn't necessarily for an actual open wax mold or one of the cottons dipped in wax, because if it melts, it'll go through the organza bag. These I tend to use with my old testers. So old testers are nice for samples because one, they are discontinued, but it's going to give them the ability to smell what the wax is like. You know, you might want to let them know that it's no longer available, but this is a sample of what it's like. This is the type of wax we use, and it's a great little gift as well. So I would potentially put this in here and close it up, and now I've got a little gift, and it's got a sample on the inside. So that is another way that you can do samples. One of the other kinds of bags that I use are these larger bags. This is a Ziploc bag. These are actually sandwich bags. So there's a little Ziploc that goes along the top of it up here. So it gives me a little bit more room if I want to fold up a product sheet or put in a bigger sample or make this a gift to the hostess. But I like to use these for that purpose as well. And again, there's places all over online that you can purchase these things. I think this one is from my daughter's house, my something, I forget. But you can find these kind of bags everywhere. Matter of fact, I think this one was picked up at the dollar store because they are sandwich bags. Another thing that you can use, and this is actually my last thing to show you. First of all, if you don't have a crinkle cutter, you can use a regular knife, and I like to use the serrated knife because if you see the designs on there, that actually will come out on the wax when you're cutting. So if you put your wax down to cut and you cut a little piece and you want to just put that in with as a sample, you can do that. That's very easy, it's quick. And because I didn't cut it right, but you can see a little bit of the marking on for the serration. But honestly, the crinkle cutter is probably the best. I prefer the crinkle cutter over anything if I'm going to be cutting up wax. The other thing that I have done, and you'll see that I've got one done here already, this is a sample of beech. This was one of our waxes that we had, and it still smells. These are little, I think these are little pill containers that you can also purchase online. And these I had gotten from the bins at Walmart. They have a bunch of bins where it's cheap price for traveling, and this is what was in there. And they had pink and green, which I thought was pretty cute. And I melted down the wax and I poured the wax on the inside. Now, I find that this is a lot of wax for a sample. Matter of fact, I think there's more wax in here than in these little mini testers. So it really depends on if you're giving it as a hostess gift or how much wax you want to give as a sample. The other thing that you can use these for is to put lotion. So you put lotion in here, you close it up, you make yourself a little label for the top, and you're good to go. So this is a great little container for making samples for lotions and that kind of thing. Okay, you could even put washer whiffs in here. You could put laundry soap. These containers are actually pretty convenient for a lot of different things. I don't have many left. I need to go and buy some more. But So that was a really, really quick overview, but I kind of thought it would be of interest to you guys to know the different ways that you can make up some samples. And I didn't want to sit here and bore you while I made them, and I figured the explanation was probably just as good. So hopefully you found something in here that you can utilize and use in your business. And if you have any other ways that you create samples, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. So please leave your information or your ideas as to what you do for samples. I guess that's it. So thanks again for coming back to the B&S channel. I want you to go, I need to go let the dog in. If you can see her at the door, she's kind of mad that I'm not letting her in. So have an amazing day and go and make it an amazing day for somebody else. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.